Okay, yeah, let's get into it, man. Secret House against the world.
Secret House
against various things. Secret House against. Yeah, we're out here in Tokyo. So I wonder if he's going to. Are you ducking, Kay? I hope you guys can hear L-Spade here in the background. I hear him just fine. Yeah, what's up, Spade? No, that's speaker.
That's speaker.
And I'm feeling okay.
Okay. We'll try to figure it out. Hopefully it's good and well. Either way, we're going to go continue with this. I didn't want to remind people that we are in Tokyo. Somebody was surprised that we were out here.
Whoa.
And yeah, today, actually, speaking of that person, I'm playing all beats by him. Shout out to Double-A, a producer who reached out to us after he watched the Chris Crack Growthfully Developed review.
Yeah.
He produced some of our favorite tracks on that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he's out there in Houston, and I just want to give him a shout out. If you look at the screen now, you can see one of his album covers. He's prolific. He's probably got like 12, 15 albums on Spotify. I'll link him in the bio so you can check him out. He makes a lot of really dope beats. Yeah, man. So yeah, shout out to Double-A. And yeah, today we're here assembled partially because L-Spade has to make sure that he doesn't have COVID right now, but we're almost certain you don't, right?
Pretty. I'm like 99.9 to the % sure I don't have it, but gotta do the protocols.
Word, I appreciate you.
Me nose. We'll call it a day.
Yeah, I appreciate you being cautious for me and Jet over here too. Anyways,
Man,
but
love you guys, man.
yeah, shout out. Hey, but yeah, today, man, we're going to rock with this new collaborative project from MC Homeboy Sandman and producer extraordinaire Illingsworth. Their newest album just dropped. Well, this collaborative album just dropped. It's called There in Spirit. I think it came out last Friday, which is like the 6th or something like that. And yeah, so...
Fitting, considering that L-Spade is there in spirit today.
Hey, that's right. You know how we do, man. Everything works out. But... yeah, you know how I like to do. I like to first talk about whether or not we're familiar with these artists and our general thoughts on them before we kind of go into the album reviews. Do you want to kick it off, Jed, and let us know how you feel about this Homeboy Sandman character in Illingsworth?
Yeah, I mean, I've been familiar with both. They've both been around for, what, 15, 20 years now? They've been around for a minute. Homeboy Sandman, Actual Factual Pterodactyl. He's been... I've never been like a hardcore fan, but I've always respected Homeboy Sandman. I like what he does. I appreciate that he is never felt like bound by the constraints of hip hop or like what hip hop is supposed to be. Some of his stuff is kind of synth poppy, like it's got kind of a, almost danceable element to it.
Yeah.
He's got his own kind of varying styles.
Like b-boy tracks.
B-boy stuff. Yeah. Shouts out to Homeboy Sandman. Illingsworth, I'm less familiar with. Although shouts out to Illingsworth, I think he absolutely crushed it on this record. I think he's mad dope. I'm gonna check his stuff out. I know he's an MC too.
He's very dope all around. Yeah.
So yeah, I've got to hear some bars from him too.
Word. Spade.
Oh, my turn.
Yeah.
So I have heard of Homeboy Sandman, but never really dived into his catalog. So this is the first time I actually listened to a full project of work, and I must say I was whammed, not underwhelmed, not overwhelmed. But
well, hold off before you get into critiquing your feeling of the album. What about Illingsworth? Were you familiar with him at all?
Never heard of the guy.
Okay, I guess they just exist in a different space where you usually pay attention for your music focus.
Exactly.
But yeah, but they're both really well known amongst the kind of like underground rap ecosystem and the beat scene. Both of them are considered like some of the greatest by the people who are really operating within those ecosystems, I suppose.
He had a feature on that last Aesop Rock that we reviewed, and it's the same kind of circle, like the same kind of vicinity. I think people who are fans of Aesop Rock are going to be very familiar with Homeboy Sandman and his output.
Word, indeed. I was thinking about it too. I for some reason I thought I had become a fan of Homeboy Sandman around like 2012, which I was like, oh, that's still a decade. But when I look back at it, I guess I've been listening to him around the time Actual Factual came out, which is like 2008. Yeah. So I had no idea, but I've been kind of rocking with him for that duration for that almost entire time. And he puts out a lot of projects like this that are collaborative, him plus MC, or him, or he, him and Aesop are lice. He put out the problem with Edan. He did his last kind of major LP with Quelle Chris produced all of it.
Yeah.
And that's one of like his go-tos to kind of change his sound up, I think, is to work with a producer. And depending on whether you enjoy that producer or not is usually how you walk away feeling from Homeboy Sandman's work, because he kind of, the rhyme schemes and the vocal tone and stuff, he kind of has a bag that I feel that he goes to. But yeah, let's go into feeling whelmed about this album. Spade, you want to start it off? Can I say before you tell us that you're whelmed, that as a first Homeboy Sandman listen, I wish that you had heard a different project than this one. I really do. But go ahead.
This album wasn't bad, actually, though. I'm not gonna sit here and like dog this album. I think the production was very solid on this album. I think the beats were not hype, really bring out Homeboy Sandman's voice. I think it's a well put together project, and I think his lyrical style of rapping is actually Aesop Rock adjacent. I can see some similarities. I can see how they can match well together, but it comes a time, man, like it kind of gets taxed. It's like, bro, what are you talking about? And I don't get that feeling with Aesop Rock. Like some people critique against Aesop Rock is like he's just speaking gibberish, and this is not to that level, but it teetered on the brink of it being mentally taxing, like hearing the rhyme scheme. I'm just like,
That's interesting, because I really had the opposite feeling. I felt like Aesop Rock is sometimes like a little too arcane for me. Sometimes I'm a little lost in what he's saying. I know I got to listen back several times. I feel like Homeboy Sandman's being very direct on this album most of the time.
It could just be the delivery and how he's doing it, because the delivery is the same on every song. It's like there's no variation.
He does stick with like certain rhyme schemes and deliveries and stuff like that. I was gonna ask you, Spade, as someone who is a producer, like from one producer to another, but you're a lot more experienced when it comes to the engineering side of things, mixing, mastering. How did this album sound to you? Because
it sounded great.
Okay, because I don't know if it was my headphones or something, but like on that first track,
Something Fly,
I almost had to take my headphones off, because it just felt like Sandman's there, like something. And I was kind of like, yo, did no one want to throw a de-esser on this? But then when I listened to it through a different pair of headphones, I didn't have that problem. So I don't know if it's my Boses or like the EQ on my phone or what. But I was wondering.
I was kind of off on this. On the mixes, the tonal balance was kind of weird. I think these were some intentional aesthetic choices they made.
Okay.
I wouldn't have done that, like mixing. But you're right. It does become like not mentally taxed, but straining on the ears after a while. It's like they chose to mix it higher for some reason. But overall, it didn't sound bad. Like the tonal balance was alright. It was just different.
Which one is the song with the organ on it? Is that the Only Constant? No, it's not the Only Constant. Stand Up is the one with the organ on it, but that one felt like the vocals were mixed a little bit low to me. But I also I didn't feel very taxed by the mixing on this. It was more or less like the content and just me not enjoying some of the beats with Homeboy Sandman over it. Like,
what beats you didn't like?
I didn't like the organ beat. I didn't like the organ beat. And these are not talking about any objective qualities of the musical choices. I think they're all good beats, but it's just, sometimes you don't want to hear a certain sound, and I didn't really enjoy the organ sound on it.
That's interesting. Again, I mean, I
love Voices.
Voices
is ill, but that's also like half beat. It like 2 minutes of the beat and then 2 minutes of Homeboy Sandman, and that's probably my favorite track on the
I think
album.
what I really like about Illingsworth is that there's a lot of producers who make like dusty kind of beats like this with like samples, old samples. You hear strings like cellos and pianos and organs and these kind of very almost kind of church-like sacred kind of instruments that are kind of dusty and old sounding, jazzy. But Illingsworth adds like a certain layer of complexity to everything. No sample sticks around for too long. on an
Sure.
Illingsworth beat. He really does a good job of like melding these different sounds together, and he was definitely the MVP of this record.
I
for
think
me.
I agree with him being the MVP. Also, I think that there's just a variety to his production that before I check the production notes on this, I was thinking that many of these tracks were produced by different people.
Right.
Voices doesn't sound anything like Something Fly, and
Sure.
there's such a variety, but that's kind of a part of Illingsworth's production that for me is sometimes to his detriment, maybe to my detriment. Sometimes he's very hit or miss for me, and
Okay.
and most of these beats I thought hit just fine. I don't really have any negative critiques about the quality of the production. More or less, just all of my critiques here are about the lyricism and the approach to these tracks and the topics of these tracks is where I really think that Homeboy Sandman falls a bit short for me. I've been a fan of his kind of observational, quirky brilliance, stacking. A lot of times he'll take the
Yep.
same word and what is that, a hominin,
Yep.
and flip it multiple times to make it rock. And then he's funny, humorous, smart. I think before he started rapping, he had passed the bar exam in New York and was like working as a lawyer or paralegal or some shit. He's a smart guy, but he uses a lot of poetic devices like any good MC. His vocal tone is generally kind of the same, almost a monotone approach, but he has vocal inflections that make it interesting.
He's got like a little bit of an aggression in his voice
Yeah.
that works really well.
Yeah, he's a New York guy,
York guy,
that comes
yeah.
across really well. Recently, though, and Spade, you're not really able to speak to this, but you will notice it once I point it out on this album. I think recently his catalog has kind of gotten away from me a little bit. I kind of feel like when I listen to his albums, more or less, maybe it existed in the past, and I'm just growing out of it as a fan of his music. But a lot of this shit comes across as like public service announcement, inspirational raps, and he does pretty good with that. But he's also becoming kind of this, what I like to call like a creative writing class MC who picks a topic or picks like a formula to write the rhymes and does that. And if you look at this album, like, two of the songs are using like a single word refrain for the bar style.
Sure.
It's like blah, 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 something.
Something.
And then it's like the one that's like all right. That's two tracks that are doing kind of the same creative writing approach.
Yeah.
Does different things, but that's kind of what he does. Two of the songs are about like responding to the comment sections and shit. And then another three of them are like motivational speeches, public service announcements. And I just don't really care about a lot of it.
So I agree in that I've never really been a fan of motivational rap. People who have been watching this channel for a while know that about me, that my own personal biases, like I'm not really into that inspirational, motivational stuff unless you're like full send with it. If it's like something I can listen to in the gym and just like, and clearly I don't go to the gym, then I'm cool with it. But the fact that there were like two tracks about online critique, so sorry, Sandman, I hope you're not watching this because we're fans. But like, that kind of lost me because I'm not
Big time.
acutely familiar with his work, and hearing this kind of meta commentary where Sandman is talking about his own criticism just doesn't connect with me. And I think if you're a hardcore fan and you're someone who's been rooting for Homeboy Sandman for 15 years and you're like thinking he's never gotten his due and he's not getting the respect he deserves, then maybe this will hit for you. But also I want to know who's like hating on this like that.
Well, here's one of the things, and this is a critique of mine as well. Earlier or towards the end of last year, he was supposed to go on tour with, I think, Dark Time Sunshine. Spade, I put you onto that album last year, or earlier this year, Dark Time Sunshine, and I think Aesop Rock. And because Homeboy Sandman was refusing to follow the COVID protocols, he got a lot of backlash from the community for not wanting to wear a mask and thinking, perhaps conspiratorially suggesting that it's an illusion or whatever. And he eventually was pulled from the tour. And if you like, all right, that's fine. I made it a point of mine in the modern day not to really demonize people for those type of ideological shortcomings. I think COVID's a little bit more serious than what Homeboy Sandman was talking about, but it's not heard of. I'm not going to cancel you. I'm not a part of this idea about a cancel culture. But on the last track, Epiphany, he starts off by saying he's walking around with no mask, no gloves, and then he discusses how people feel a need to scold him and how he's irresponsible. And his major...
we're doing right now.
You know, but it's funny because like his major takeaway from it is like, you have no swag. And I'm just kind of like, oh my God, like I expected him to have a little bit of a sharper critique of that, or in defense, if he was going to focus on it so much. In the Edan album, he says never use the internet again, but apparently he's using internet because he's got to have the keep the same energy track. Like if you say it online, say it to my face. Like, why do you care? And why isn't there a deeper critique if this is really what's on your mind? And that's where it falls short for me. I used to think he was more funny. I used to think that it was more brilliant. I used to think, you listen to Pendulum Swing on the Quelle Chris Being You Is Great album, he's so fucking fire.
Yeah.
What does he say? I wandered down the mountain with a mouthful of powerful symbols. He's just so crazy on that his last few pieces that work on these, like, some of it is very emotional and serious and vulnerable, like the crying song, Feels So Good to Cry, and I rock with him for that. But the other joints are just fucking boring to me. Even the rhyme styles on this shit are not interesting. I tried to find bars on this shit that were like, word, that's fucking hard, and I came up short on almost every single track. And they're well written. They're well written. They're concept tracks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I totally agree with Mega. Like,
Yeah.
And that's where I think it is not bad. It's like, all these songs are just meh. They're not bad. They're not good. They just slap dead in the middle. Like, keep that same energy. I want to hate on that track because it's not really inventive. It's not creative. The saying has been said to death. And it's kind of like blasé fair. But, I mean, it's not bad either. It's just like, okay. But I do agree with Mega, too, in the sense of, like, all right, is people really hating on you, or are you just trying to, like, make up?
Well, I didn't know this context about like the COVID protocols and stuff. Epiphany makes a lot more sense, when you take that like into consideration. I don't feel so negative about the album though. I feel maybe it's just because I was really, really impressed by the production, and I feel like Homeboy Sandman gels pretty well with it. I feel like his voice works really well with it. Maybe he wasn't trying to overcomplicate things because the beats are also pretty complex. There's a lot going on in all of those beats, so maybe he felt like it was better to just let those beats breathe a little bit more, give them a little bit more room. Illingsworth is crazy. I'm a fan of Illingsworth now. Like I'm gonna go back and listen to his whole discography. So I'm grateful to that album for that on its own terms.
Production was good. Yes.
When we end the episode, I'm gonna play one of my favorite Illingsworth tracks. But you know, like, I don't think the album's bad either. I don't think the last project Angelito that he did with A$AP Rock Beats is bad. I don't think I forget oh damn, I can't remember the name of it. It's escaping me. But I don't think they're bad projects. It's one of those things where I feel like my relationship in love with Homeboy Sandman is gaining more distance, which is fair and fine. Like, I haven't been a huge fan of Ghostface Killah since Bulletproof Wallets, and I've been a fan of his for the last 20 years since that dropped, but I'm just not. I used to be a huge champion of Homeboy Sandman, but in light of some of his new work, it just doesn't hit for me the same.
And this album,
shit, man. Yeah, sometimes you outgrow it.
Yeah, and this album, I really feel like it's one for the fans. Like, I think, you know, if I have a critique of this record as someone who, you know, I remember listening to Actual Factual, and like I'm familiar with his work. I've listened to a few of his albums, but I've never been like in that hardcore Homeboy Sandman camp. You know, that whole circle isn't really my scene. This feels like it's for the fans, and in that respect, it isn't for me because I don't have the investment in Homeboy Sandman as a person that some of his fans probably, you know, do.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think that's perfectly fair. Like, this is, I'm also not taking this as like some super serious project. Seems like him and Illingsworth like, yo, let's drop something, and they drop something. Same with the A$AP joint that came out late last year. And it's like, word, you know, like, I like that he's putting out music. I will continue to check it out in hopes that his music kind of re-sparks that kind of love that I had for his projects earlier. man, I went back and I listened to that Pendulum Swing verse, and man, when Homeboy Sandman is on, he's one of the fucking illest guys ever writing. And I like when he rocks with Aesop. The tribute that they did for MF Doom last year is my favorite Doom tribute that's been done. It's so real. It's so hard. I rock with Homeboy Sandman. I just personally didn't love this project, but I still think it's pretty solid.
Word. So
Same here.
on our really, really good and accurate 3-point scale, trash album, greatest album ever. Where we at?
I kind of, I saw my man 07 talking about the Earth Gang album, and he gave it a number description, and I agreed with his critique of it, and I thought he had a lot of really solid points. Shout out to my man 07, but I was like, I said that this is like the greatest album ever, but I would give it like a 6.5.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like I want to bring it back to giving number ratings sometimes.
Sure.
And I do think that this is an album. I'll go album on this, but in terms of the quality of it, I'll give it like a soft 7, like a real soft 7 album. I don't dislike it. I think his fans will enjoy it. I just probably won't be back except for 1 or 2 songs.
Sure.
Would you?
Oh, you know what? I'm actually right. First time ever. I'm right with Mega. It's an album. It's not bad. It's not good. Like I said, I'm not overwhelmed or underwhelmed. I'm just whelmed. I would give the album a 5, honestly. Production though, I would give it a strong 7 because the beats do like engage me. Some of the mixes are iffy, like Jet said, but I do think they were intentional. But yeah, overall, 5 for the album. It's an album. And like I said, production 7.
I'm gonna direct you to some other Homeboy Sandman albums that I think you will actually enjoy a little bit more than this one, just based purely on his lyrical performances. I'm definitely gonna shoot that to you.
Hey, I got time. Why not?
All right, bet. All right, I guess that's it, man. Let me put on this Illingsworth joint right quick.
I'll
for you
also highlight just because I haven't given my closing
my
thoughts.
bad.
I'll
be disrespectful
it's
to you.
interesting.
I'll be cutting you off all the time. Yeah.
I don't really know how to rate it in light of what you guys have just said, because I definitely feel like I'm more positive towards this album than the two of you are. But I also, and I hate numerical ratings, so maybe that's why I just haven't given it that much consideration. I don't know what the difference between a 6.8 and a 7.2 is.
It's really arbitrary.
But it's kind of arbitrary to me. But I would have also given it a 7 out of 10. And the production is higher for me. Like I said, I am now an Illingsworth fan. I'm looking forward to hearing what you got to play for us.
It's pretty much just a beat. Here we go, man. Secret House Against the World. We out.
Secret
Gang,
House.
You can't hear that, Spade, but it's hard.
I think you're word for it.
You got to watch the video. Peace. We out, man.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Shouts out to Bennett M, by the way. When we did our secret housekeeping video, we talked about some of the comments and stuff like that. We just somehow forgot to show love to Bennett M, who's been rocking with us since like the very beginning and always leaves dope comments on all of our videos. So yeah, thank you, Bennett, for always showing us love.
No doubt. Thank you, fam.
All right, peace.
Peace.
Fuck the alt-right.
Oh, there we go.